Why is it that we can experience what the mind does, but we still can't see it?
Get up, everybody move.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Get Your Mind Right, and more specifically to this mini-series that I am beginning to just adore. What exactly is the mind? What is it? I'm your host, Soul Expression, and let's go ahead and get started. On today's episode within the mini-series, we're actually going to answer the question, what exactly is the mind? And actually, let me leave some space over here so that I can have my words show up on the blank space. Shout out to Heath Ledger. I don't know if y'all like the Dark Knight, the first Dark Knight movie that came out, but I love it, and so I wear this shirt every now and then. It says ha 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 ha. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. And we're going to answer the question, what exactly is the mind? And this is going to be multi-part as well, I noticed, because as I was typing my notes, I just got to going. And this question really, I could make a whole YouTube channel based on this one question. What exactly is the mind? And that's for a couple reasons. For one, more and more information and more practical interpretations of what the mind is come out every single day. We get more and more insight into what this mind that we use to think and interpret and move our attention and all of these things. We get more and more insight into what exactly it is every single day. And so it's not that I'm going to be able to fully satisfy everybody maybe that comes across this video, but I will be able to show you some things that maybe you haven't thought about, or at least haven't thought about in the way that I'm going to put it to you. As you know, I am very spiritual at heart. I'm like spirit first and information second, or should I say spiritual maturity first and knowledge second. I won't be purely logical in my explanation of what the mind is, but I definitely will try and use as much logic as possible. And I'll try not to be so attached to just the juicy information. If I think of any good stories or good ways to engage you all as I go along with my notes, then I'll try and interject some of that material so that it's not purely just a lot of information, and then by the end of the time that you're watching this video, you're like, oh my gosh, what did he say? I gotta go back and rewatch it just to understand what the hell he's talking about. So, you guys ready? Yes? Alright, let's get into it. What exactly is the mind? I want to open it up with a question just to get you to think a little bit. Say, why is it that we can experience what the mind does, but we still can't see it? Why is it that we can experience different things that the mind can do, whether it's solving a problem or coming up with words to say in a video and giving you images, and your imagination does a whole lot of things, and dreams. And why can we experience what the mind does, but we can't see it? We can't see the mind. If you look for it, you won't find anything. Why is that? Why do we believe that we can use the mind to see it? It's like using a telescope to see the telescope. Why do we believe that we can use the mind to see it? It's a little backwards, right? Why do we assume that the mind is real in the first place? Why do we assume that the mind is real? Something interesting that I found as I was doing some further research, and I'm just interested in it. So I do research on this very question pretty much at least 3-4 times a month. I just do a little deep dive into what the mind is. And I came across some information that I'm gonna, excuse my lack of eye contact here, I'm gonna be reading some of it. And basically I found out that some single cell organisms don't have a brain. Like an amoeba, for instance, it has a birth, a lifespan, a death, right? And it's a very complex organism, very complicated. It has to gain energy to do what it does. Excuse me for belching. It has to gain energy to do what it does. It has to rest and recalibrate if it's injured. It heals. It eats. Very complicated organism. Yet it has no brain. So it can basically do all of the different things that human beings do and other organisms that have brains can do, right? It does it's born, it has a lifespan where it does its duties, it eats, it does all of the things with its body, and it dies, and as it dies, it decays and basically disappears into the nothingness or into the source of all creation, as we are all one day to do. Yet it has no brain, and so we can't necessarily say that the mind that controls the movements and the lifespan and the patterns, the physical behavioral patterns of these single-celled organisms, also bacteria, which can be described as the most successful organism known to man. How do these single, they don't have a brain? How do they, use the power of the mind to do what they do? They make choices. They don't, there's no strings that are moving them to do and follow the rules, you could say. There's no rule book for their existence, yet they make their choices. They do life. They are life. What is it about this thing that gives it a mind if it doesn't have a brain? Very interesting. So a doctor will tell you that the mind is a collection of flowing images that are produced on neural maps and neural pathways, which are built on the representation of the world and the inner experience of the organism. So the mind is like a collection of flowing images, is what doctors will say, that are built on these neural pathways, these neural maps. If you don't know any brain science whatsoever, I'll just tell you right now that what's inside of your cortex, what's inside of your brain, that that you can track when someone is thinking, when they're resting, when they're dreaming, and various things. What we're doing when we use machinery to track these activities is looking at your what's called neurons, or the firing of your neuron activity. Okay, a bunch of very small, infinitesimally small, I mean super small, okay, pathways that electricity and electrochemical reactions go down. They go down and go up these pathways, these highways for thought. Okay, so mini lesson on what happens when you're caught thinking. Okay, so this collection of flowing images, okay, this at any given time during the day, you're having a small conversation in your mind. Even if you can't perceive it, it's happening. You're interpreting what's around you. You're interpreting what's inside of what you feel inside of you in terms of your mood, your emotions, how you perceive yourself, all of these things. You're having this little tiny conversation all throughout your waking hours. It does not stop, and it's going on all the time. Well, what's happening is you're receiving a collection of flowing images. Some of these images is like voices, an image of a voice, and image just means imagine, okay? Image of actual pictures, image of movies, like if you're daydreaming and you have like a movie playing in your mind. So this collection of flowing images, which are built on the representation of the world around you and the world inside of you, that's what doctors will call the mind. Me personally, I don't think that is complete. I think that's an incomplete interpretation of what the mind is. Although that may account for many aspects of using the mind and observing the mind from a surface level, I don't think that encompasses enough. And I say here, in other words, the doctors will say that the mind is a collection of image representations of the world and internal experience. I don't think this is a complete definition any longer, as the relationship between the mind and manifesting and manifestation is becoming more and more clear as we evolve as self-aware organisms and as humans. Okay, so I don't think it's enough to say that just these images of interpreting and representing the world around us and the world inside of us is enough to say what the mind really is. In my course that I've created called Mentalism Mechanics, we explain how really, in reality, all is mind. Okay, all is mind. And if you're interested in that, then just contact me in one of the contact links that'll be in the description of this video, and we can dive a little bit deeper, or maybe you can even sign up to take the course. You'll learn a lot. Anyway, now if we include the spiritual sense of things, the mind can be looked at as the field through which all things are perceived by the external and internal senses of the various beings in existence. Okay, the mind is, or can be seen as, the field through which all things are perceived by external and internal senses of various beings. Okay, in other words, the mind is the bridge between the all, meaning the all of the infinite, okay, and the individual. And last point in this part one of answering the question, what exactly is the mind? I want to call your attention to a biblical statement. I don't usually talk about the biblical statements, but every now and then I'll throw them in. Think about the book of Genesis and the very beginning of all things. It is said that things came into existence, okay, through the creation of the all, like whatever you want to call God, Brahman, Para Brahman, the various names, right? Allah, okay? All of these names point to one source of creation. I like to call it the source. Okay, so the source, one of the things said was, let there be light. Think about that. Let there be light. And then there was light, and the light was good. So light was not here, and then suddenly it was here. Well, let there be light, for there to be a statement of such profound clarity. Let there be light. Okay? That means something knows what light is and demands it or commands it into existence. Now, what knows that light is? Well, the mind of the source, the mind of God, knew and knows what light was before light's existence. And as you know, if you've been following this channel, everything physical, including light, is simply back and forth vibration. Okay? Light is of the highest of vibration. It is not anything but vibration. So, and everything physical, vibration is the end all be all of all physicality whatsoever, period. So I want you to really ponder on that, and I'll see you all in the next video where we'll dive a little bit deeper into answering the question, what exactly is the mind? Peace and love, y'all. So if you're new to Ufulu Child, make sure you subscribe to get more mind mastery content dropped straight into your YouTube feed. If you enjoyed today's episode of Get Your Mind Right, let me know by clicking that like button, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Peace and love.